watch the reveal stream for today at work. So actually, just finished watching the entire thing to see what all went down, and it was pretty cool. So without further ado, I have a list of questions to run down. We have lots of cards to talk about.
That we sure do. And if you'll give me half a moment. Hi, everyone. My name is Darman213 with CrossForge Gaming. If you're interested in competitive gaming, we are running a tournament halfway through the month here in 2 weeks on the 19th. It'll be the first chance to have a free event to test your competitive skills with these new and awesome cards. So please check us out on Facebook. So you had your first question. I have it pulled up on my phone here.
Yep. First question, actually, I wanted to be... Before we get into KFT, let's go back to Ungoro. Like, what were our general impressions of the Ungoro meta?
I think Ungoro broke the cycle for a lot of oppressive decks and helped make everything kind of viable. You know, each class definitely had something with Ungoro. In Druid, you had great cards like Tarantis. Granted, some great cards like Tarantis. Trying to think now, some of the other cards. There's things like... There was a lot of Mean Streets cards that were given synergy within the classes. And a lot of the elementals brought in disruption to fight against aggro. And that was the big thing, it was aggro shaman with tokens and pirates, and then you had pirate warrior and pirate rogue. Up until they nerfed Tiny Buccaneer, all of these decks were extremely oppressive. You could not play a control deck or a mid-range deck just because you would get outvalued by the pace.
Definitely agree. I think that this was by far the most diverse meta I've played in, and I've only really played since Whispers of the Old Gods.
Nathan,
but this was definitely my favorite meta.
Nathan, what was your
generally
insight?
tend to agree with that sentiment, but I think it also introduced some new decks that, at least for a little while, became relatively oppressive. Of course, the most infamous one, and the one that everyone was always talking about, at least until it was nerfed, was Quest Rogue.
And see, I have to argue that one. I think it was time that Rogue had a viable deck that was tempo-oriented and didn't stall out the game till turn 20. And by that, I do mean Miracle Rogue. So, and I do agree, it was almost oppressive. If we didn't have so many cards that helped slow that down. Dirty Rat ripped out the copies so that you could disrupt their combo. It's just that a lot of those cards to deal with that specific matchup weren't necessarily great in every other matchup. You don't want to go ripping out Tyrion out of a Control Paladin. You don't want to rip Antonidas out of Quest Mage. And so, like, there were definitely answers to Quest Rogue. In fact, in the last... Before the nerf officially happened, Quest Rogue was only at 52% of a win rate. Last I checked. Hold on, let me find the
No, I think it was lower than that. I think it was below 40, from what I remember.
Yeah, it did.
From Blizzard statistics.
Because people were finally teching the cards against it, and they found the right synergy of cards. And granted, that was after the release, but when did Ungoro... Ungoro came out in April?
April, I believe, yes.
And they just nerfed it in June.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. So
it was early June, I believe.
So not even 2 months.
And I tend to agree that Quest Rogue, as a deck, wasn't in particular oppressive, but it was one of those decks that it felt really bad to lose to, because it felt like there was nothing you could do. When you lose by turn 4, when they complete the quest by turn 4, and at that point, you can't outvalue them, you can't out-aggro them.
Oh, you can outvalue them. There were cards to deal with it. Even in not Shaman. Well, Shaman does. There were cards that you could play in just about every class that would help you outvalue when they drop 4 5/5s on you for nothing. And that was the big thing, is you ignore their face, you blow up their minions. If they overcommit their minions too soon because you're pressuring them to get the quest done faster and they slip up, that's when you start winning. But I definitely understand what you're saying, though.
It wasn't. I didn't mind the deck just because it was it was one of those decks that had a huge. It virtually had no skill ceiling. It was, if you knew how to pilot the deck well, you could get crazy win rates on it. But it was also one that if you didn't know how to play it, you were just going to lose all the time. So I think it was balanced in that aspect. But as someone who played a lot of Priest in Ungoro, I just hated that deck. As soon as I saw the quest come out, there were times I just wanted to concede because I knew it was going to be a long, hard struggle uphill for me to even try to break even.
I mean, you have greater healing pot, and well, you were also playing the Reno variant of Priest for the most part. Am I right?
Yeah, for the most part, I would switch between the Kazakus Priest and the typical kind of combo-ish Dragon Priest that a lot of people were playing.
Right. Yeah, but even playing Priest, you have Holy Nova to get the spread damage in. Then you could drop Dragonfire Potion for the Van Cleef if they drop it, if they get to that point. I don't know. Like, I definitely think that Ungoro had a lot of answers pre-packaged in. I still stick to my comment that I made when I started playing Hearthstone 2 years ago, is that Hearthstone players, by the whole, are not good at deck building. They're not. They're not good at finding combos. They're not good at finding synergy. They're like, hey, this is a good card. Hey, this is a good card. I'll play it. But they don't look for synergy, to combo off. And the only reason that I have any affinity for that is just because I've been playing card games since I was 6 years old. So like it's kind of ingrained in my blood at this point.
Mm-hmm. So we've seen the negative of Ungoro. Let's go to we've already talked about the diverse meta, but what were some of your favorite decks to play in Ungoro?
Exodia! Obliterate!
I wish I had been able to play that deck. I could just never get it. The one I played the early version, like back
with
when
the
expansion first came out, that played the Giants. That was the version I played.
Oh man, literally the worst version of the deck.
See, I thought that version was actually a bit more consistent. It may not have been as good, but I thought it was more consistent overall.
No, because no, and here's why. Here's why I say that. Because it had a damage cap. You would lose against an armor warrior every time because you lay your giants out, but you can't push enough damage fast enough. I even played the giant version, and I ran it against fully fleshed out Cthulhu warrior. Because that was a thing that had kind of creeped back in with Ungoro, was a resurgence of Cthulhu decks, which I thought was really cool. That's another positive, is synergy with old cards. But you would fight, they would drop both of the Ancient Shield Bears, and they'd be sitting at 40, 45 after they shield what is it? Iron Shield and Shield Block? Shield Block. So they would just get to these massive armor numbers, and you couldn't keep up with them. You just couldn't. With a combo deck like that, plus with the fact that it's Cthulhu, you're on your own timer, plus the Cthulhu minions have always been very well statted. Like, you can play Cthulhu minions by themselves, and they're good cards. But the point is you could only get 3 to 4 giants out, and you absolutely had to wait until turn 8, 9, usually 9 to set up Alexstrasza and then drop an Arcane Giant. And even then, again, armor is a problem. You have a damage cap. You play Exodia Mage with Antonidas, your damage cap is infinite. The only way you lose is if they have a secret that deals damage when you cast a spell. Or if you attack face with a Spellweaver. What's that card? I can never remember the names of some of these. Spellcaster? No. At any rate, spell reduction. If you attack with your spell reduction before you go in and you nuke them all, then yeah, you lose. But you shouldn't, because infinite fireballs.
Alright, so we got Exodia Mage. What were some other favorite decks?
This is going to sound a little basic, but honestly, I had a lot of fun with mid-range Hunter. I was glad Hunter was decent again.
See, I never really understood the hate that Hunter got throughout Mean Streets, because sure, it was not a top tier deck at all, but I could run it and still win and still have fun with the deck. I never really got the hate behind it. And yeah, I agree, Hunter, this expansion was pretty fun.
I really think it comes down to a couple of critical cards that came down for Hunter. Probably the biggest one was Hunter got a good 2-drop in Crackling Razor Maw.
Yep.
The fact that you could drop an Alley Cat or a Firebat on turn 1 and then adapt it on turn 2 with Crackling Razor Maw gave you
hold up.
tempo
Are we
push.
talking Ungoro or Mean Streets?
In Ungoro.
Ungoro specifically.
We moved on to the Ungoro because we were talking about Mean Streets.
I was just talking about like going back, because it seems like ever since Mean Streets that Hunter's been kind of meh.
I wouldn't say that at all. I would not say that it was meh in the slightest.
Or that's been the community perception, should I say, that Hunter's not really that great.
I mean, fair. That is, yeah. Hunter and Warlock are the least played, I think, right now. Yeah. Due to there's just better cards. There's higher card quality with more consistency. The big thing that Hunter also had was that beautiful 1-drop that gave you a random beast. Granted, it can give you crap. It can give you stuff that you're never going to get to. It can give you Tarantus, and you're not, as a Hunter, you're more than often not going to get to turn 10.
Yep. Which is why Call of the Wild, as good of a card as it is, doesn't see play now, because if you get to turn 9 by Hunter, you're probably
losing.
dead anyway.
That, or you're on your last, hero power tap. There's just better cards. And I think coming into Knights of the Frozen Throne, I think coming into KFT, we will definitely see a resurgence of Hunter and Warlock, especially.
I definitely think so, and that's the question.
I was going to say, can we move into the KFT stuff? Like, it's great to dwell on the past, but the past is the past. We're in the future. This is now!
Yep. So the biggest highlight, the one thing that KFT is pushing, is the Death Knight cards. So let's start with the big hitters. What have been your favorite Death Knights so far, just looking at them?
Well, I'm a sucker for Paladins, But honestly, I think Anduin is going to end up being my favorite just because of combo.
I can see that. See,
Rasa combo.
yeah. See, my answer would have been Jaina, and probably still is, but man, that Warlock Death Knight card looks kind of crazy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that the Warlock looks great. Let me go ahead and find it on my screen for you all to see. Blood Reaver Gul'dan. Summon all friendly demons that died this game, and then his hero power turns to a lifesteal ability that says deal 3 damage to target minion? Or is it target character?
It's targeted character. I think it's character.
That's even better. Because
Yep.
more often than not... Hey, does that mean Handlock is back?
I mean, possibly.
I think that means Handlock is back.
But, I mean, we kind of said that at the beginning of Ungoro, and then it never really took off. But
no,
it's a possibility.
One of our friends said that Handlock would be back, and they were very wrong.
This is true.
As they often are.
Yeah,
that
I mean, even Trump couldn't make his control handlock work.
Man, okay, I love Trump as a player. I don't like him as a card reviewer because he's made so many little errors, and he got stuck with probably one of the most meh tier cards for a reveal. I don't know why he loves this card. The Ultimate Infestation.
This expansion? Yeah, I don't get that either.
Like, he absolutely adores this card, and I'm like, in what realm of the imagination do you think that this card is going to be playable? Deal 5 damage, draw 5 cards, gain 5 armor, and summon a 5/5 ghoul. So, unless there's this miracle healing druid that's going to push out Jade Idols, what am I supposed to draw from this? You know, and especially when you're legendary that regenerates all of your taunt minions. Hadronax. It's here on the right. Death Rattle, when it dies, summon all your taunt minions that died this game. Like, this is a great card. That 10-drop card isn't even relevant, because by the time you're getting into that, you're already at turn 10, you're 10 cards into your deck, minimum, if you're playing 0 other draw. Okay? 11 if you go turn 2. So I guess it's for some sort of ramp druid, maybe Yogg druid. But I appreciate it more for the Yogg Saran pool.
Yep.
But I think that's the only reason it exists.
I think it'll see niche play in, like, the big easy ramp druid we've seen, but that'll be it. And it might even be just a tech card in the deck.
You know what deck this card would be great in? It would be a wild
Astral
deck.
Communion?
Astral Communion Wild. Yeah. That's the only deck I could see this card being viable in.
Yeah. Honestly.
And I mean competitively viable. You know, if you see me get this card, I'm going to insta-dust it. It's easy 100 dust.
So, back to the Death Knights.
So Death Knights, my choice is Anduin.
I'm still, you know, I love Priest, but I'm kind of on the border about Anduin. Like, I think it'll be good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it'll see play outside of combo decks. It might see play as a Priest actually having a finisher in control decks. I could definitely see that.
I mean, it's
because Priest now has direct damage. Oh my god.
I mean, first of all, yeah, direct damage is the big thing. Second of all, it does clear the board of any immediate threats. Destroy all minions with 5 or more attack. Now, the only time that doesn't concern you is when you're fighting tokens, am I right? So, at that point, you've already got Dragonfire Potion to deal with with tokens. So you go Dragonfire Potion to clear off their early game. 2 turns later, 1 turn if you're still holding on to that beautiful, beautiful coin, you blow up just about every 5 drop. Just about any 5 through 10 drop is destroyed by this card. It's great tempo, like, and it gives you the 5 armor, so it adds another turn of sustainability if they try to start rebuilding tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that you get the hero power, which hits more minions, which brings us more survivability. Yeah, I love this card. Like, it's a great card.
I definitely love the card, but just call it the eternal pessimistic priest main in me. I don't want to get super hyped about it just yet.
It's okay,
but I do think it's
okay.
a really good card.
Shh. I'm patting your head over the internet. I'm petting your head because it's okay.
Aww.
It's okay. Priest can have nice things. You are special. You are worth it.
Yes. All right. So any other Death Knights we want to talk? Jaina. I wanted to talk about Jaina. Holy crap!
Hold on. Before you talk about Jaina, and I will join you in the oozing over her. Nathan, which one of these is your favorite?
So, for me, it's actually a class that I don't play very often. That is Valera the Hollow, the Rogue Death Knight.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
That's another card that I think will absolutely see meta play. Like I mentioned earlier, Miracle Rogue?
Yeah.
Let's last 20 turns. I'm trying to find it on the page now.
Yeah, it has a battle cry. You gain 5 armor, and you also gain stealth until your next turn. Just the flavor of that, the fact that the rogue is getting stealth, combined with the fact that, you know, if I can see so much utility for that. Oh, you're near the end of your life pool. Gain stealth for a turn. And you also, with that Death Shadow ability that comes with it, you get that shadow reflection in your hand every turn. And that shadow reflection basically lets you play a copy of the card you just played. And so you get all the goodness of Mimic Pod and several of the Ungoro cards that let you copy other cards you had. And you get it once a turn, every turn, instead of just once in a while with Mimic Pod.
Ha! Prep.
I think I love this card, but Darman and I were kind of talking about this earlier, but I think this is a card that will probably take a good 2 or 3 months to actually find its way into a meta deck. Because it's such a high skill cap card, or high skill ceiling card, that it'll take people a while to figure out how to build around it.
The class in general is just
exactly
really difficult to build.
But I love the card. I think it might be the best designed card in the entire set. I would go ahead and say that. I think it'll take a while for it to see play. I think people will be experimenting with it like crazy, though. Because, I mean, it's basically an ice block for Rogue. Oh my god.
First of all, it's an ice block for Rogue, and it also gives you another turn to go prep and then throw something on the board. Or, sorry, prep, vanish, and throw something relatively large on the board.
Mm-hmm. So, was that it for Valera the Hollow?
I think it's really all that could be said about her is like she gives you that sustainability that decks like Miracle Rogue need to draw that one last card of the combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I don't even want to think about this card in the wild version of the deck because you reduce the cost of that Death Knight.
Yeah, like and there are so many cards in this expansion make me really scared to go into wild now.
Yeah, no kidding. And I actually had a question. Do you think prep or are the Death Knights like hero replacement cards, or do you think that they're considered spells? The reason I ask is because you could hypothetically prep turn 6, drop this.
I think it's a new card type, so I don't think it's a spell.
I don't think it is either, but I'm wondering in the Spaghetti Code if they've got that covered.
I would assume so, because that seems like something they would have built around because of Counterspell. That would feel really bad getting your new hero counterspelled.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
So yeah, I think that's something that they would have considered. We mentioned it before. Let's talk about Frostlich Jaina. This might be my favorite Death Knight card, just because I can totally see a new mage archetype coming from this one card.
I wouldn't necessarily call it an archetype, but it definitely is absolutely incredible. I think it's just a great addition to Elemental Mage. I think it's a great addition to Control Mage as a whole. I mean, you get a 4-mana card, you gain 5 armor, so that's like 5 mana worth of stats. Then you enchant all of your elementals to have lifesteal. So any elementals you have previous, like a Blaze Color, or God forbid you actually have Pyros on the board, you're gaining life from that. Plus you have the armor, so you can overheal at this point. There's a lot of times where I'm playing Mage and I don't get touched until, turn 6 maybe, and they may do 1 or 2 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like,
being able to go over and above, it's great.
I can see a controlling elemental mage coming from this card. Like you said with Pyros. Imagine late game with this and Pyros. A 10/10 life steal. Heck yes.
They have to deal with it. You have to have either a spot removal spell or trade everything into it. But if you trade everything into it, guess what? You still heal to full health.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hex and Polymorph and Devolve are going to be the few answers to that. Or Shadow Word Death.
And the thing about Elemental Mage in the current meta was it just wasn't as efficient as Secret / Gunther Mage was. It wasn't as efficient as Exodia Mage was. But with this new Frostless Jaina card, I think Elemental Mage is going to come into its own.
I mean, Elemental Mage, and I've been working on this with our friend Cravel, or Yugar. I don't know which username he goes by. Judah from the group chat. He and I have been going over different elemental lists since Ungoro launched. And I think we determined that Shaman had the better of the two. But there's a lot of potential to just go straight up aggro burn with all of the spell production within the Elemental Mage. Because you have your Blaze Colors, which are 6/6 bodies with a Fireball attached to them. It's pretty good. You've got Flame Geysers coming off of your Geyser Elementals, the 4-drop, which is a Yeti.
The Steam Surger.
That's it, Steam Surger. So you've just got so much spell production. Then you drop a Thanos late game. You drop Thanos, a Spellbinder, I can't remember that card to save my life.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Thank you! Got Mickey Mouse up in here. Someday I'll be just like you! Ha-ha!
Someday you'll be just like me.
Yes. What is that new card?
The new one. Doomed Apprentice.
Yes.
Wow.
Horrible card, but I think it's funny.
Wait, what card? I didn't see this.
Doomed Apprentice.
How far down is it on the reveal page?
It's about halfway down.
I'm just looking at the mage cards.
Oh, found it. Doomed Apprentice. Your opponent's spells cost 1 more. I don't know. I like it.
Its entrance line is literally, "Someday you'll be just like me."
Ooh.
And it is said so creepy.
Wanna play?
So yeah, I think that about sums up Frostlich Jaina. Super excited to try out that card.
All right, so Can I go on to your next point?
Well, I kind of reordered these to kind of make a little more sense. My second one was the next one I want to go on to is what are our favorite non-Death Knight cards we've seen so far?
The powerful Nosferatu.
Okay.
Battle Cry. Remove the top card of your opponent's deck. It's fantastic card. We play with pandas. We discard 6 cards.
I'm interested to see how this card works. I'm convinced it will either be a dead card or it will be a crazy card, and I don't know what to decide yet.
So here's what you do. You play Nosferatu, and then you play, what is it, Treachery? Where you give them a minion, right? Is that the 3-drop card? You give them an Acolyte of Pain, and then you play Cold Light Oracle, and you mill them.
You should make.
I've got a great paper plan for what I'm doing on Thursday if I don't have a job by then. Thursday's gonna be great.
I totally agree. I'm so looking forward to Thursday. So, other favorite non-Death Knight cards we've seen so far. Mine are definitely the Lich King and Arthas, for sure. I love Arthas.
Now, just because...
Arthas.
Yeah. Arthas the dog. Did it have a unique sound when it came in? Like, does it bark? I really hope it barks.
It had a sound, but the animation for its entrance was amazing. You need to go look up its animation. It was crazy good. Speaking of animation, the Lich King's animation was sick.
Yes.
He basically like freezes the entire board as he comes on.
Oh.
It's so good.
Gave me shivers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh. Nathan, what were some of your favorite cards that you saw?
Let's see. Well, there's the new Murloc Tiny Fin, only now it's called Snow Flipper Penguin. 0 mana 1/1.
He's so cute.
It's so broken!
Let's see. There was Happy Ghoul, which is a 3 mana 3/3, but it costs 0 if your hero was healed this turn.
Priest can have nice things. Priest is allowed.
Can have nice things.
And I also like Bone Drake. 6 mana, 6/5 dragon with the death rattle of adding a random dragon to your hand.
Delicious.
I love the art on that card alone. The art on that card is amazing.
Can we talk about how this card is just plain value for days, and we still have Nether Spite for another year?
Yep. And then the Cobalt Scalebane right beside it.
Yeah,
I kind of wonder if Dragon Mage could be a thing this expansion.
With Sindragosa?
Yeah.
Maybe? Question mark?
That's something I definitely want to test and see if Dragon Mage could work.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I could absolutely see that. It would have to be a super control-y deck, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you would go... Are you suggesting you go into Jaina with that deck as well?
Maybe. I don't really see a ton of synergy for Frostlich Jaina, though. I want to say, like, maybe Anisera as the top end, and that would really be it.
Play Ysera with the card that doubles up your end of turns effects.
You know what? You're an evil genius.
I love that card so
I love
much.
That card, too.
I've been waiting for them to...
This card right here, the Drakai Enchanter.
Yeah, it's basically the new Bran, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair assessment.
The only thing is, it's no longer, unlike Bran, which was a legendary,
you can have
Enchanter is a rare.
Yep, so you can have 2.
Or, excuse me, it's a, not a rare, an epic. So...
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in the list, because depending on how
it's about halfway down in the neutrals for me.
Not Corpse Raiser.
Although
it's
that one's going to be insane as well.
Yeah. Your end of... Okay, So, okay, just kidding. I thought this thing would be more broken just because end of turn. If it read end of turn effects trigger again, you drop your Sarah with 2 of these suckers on the board. You get 3 dream cards.
Oh, no.
No. This is balanced. This is a good card.
Yeah. I really like that
and
card.
actually, that synergizes a lot with a lot of the old classic cards that give extra health and extra attack at the end of turn. You might actually be able to build a whole deck around those. And I would suggest Druid, just because you could ramp and you could just give health.
Yeah,
that actually sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I can actually see cards, old classic cards like Young Priestess, which gives +1 health at the end of turn to a random minion.
And
make a comeback.
Sword Maker, the 2-mana 1/3 that gives extra attack.
Yeah.
Bring me steel.
And then the Priest 2-drop that gives +1/+1 at the end of the turn.
Oh yeah, that's one of the new cards here. That's going to be Value City.
I'll get to this a little bit, but I love that. Okay, we're talking about favorite cards now. I love this card because it's a Priest 2-drop, number 1. And then number 2, if you can hit this on a tempo Cleric or a Firefly, imagine the value.
I'm imagining it. I love it.
Yep. Like,
speaking of cards we love, Eternal Servitude. High Roller Priest, anyone?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just thinking of all the infinite value that you can get off of this card. What's
Eternal
that?
Servitude and Shadow Essence. Put those both in the same deck.
Shadow Essence. That's not the 6th card, is it? No.
Yeah.
You mean Embrace Darkness?
No, Shadow Essence. Summon a 5/5 copy of a random minion in your deck.
Oh, yeah.
Put those in the same deck.
Oh, wait! Oh, that's even better! You play Case and Amber, and then play Yogg-Saron. Just make it a high roller Yogg-Saron deck. Just laugh at your opponent as you heal 12 every other turn with your pots. Greater healing pots, and then you play both of the, 4-drop that gives you the potions as well to get some more control. Shoot, you could even play Ticking Abomination. It wouldn't be terrible because you're playing a control deck. Deal 5 damage to what other minions?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Priest got some super fun cards this expansion. My only concern is that they're so expensive. Not even just mana cost, but Eternal Servitude and Shadow Essence are only rares, so that's okay. But Embrace Darkness and Obsidian Statue being epics,
it does make it a little bit more. Does make a very high entry barrier, which is why I'm really hoping they don't pull things out like Ice Block or Gadgets and Auctioneer, because those are okay. Going back on one of my old rants. You cannot keep killing old cards to make new cards less powerful. The reason those old cards exist is because they last forever. They are good for new players and a healthy standard game. Having a core set is good. And unless you're going to make a core set come out on a 3-year basis that lasts for 3 years, don't do this. Don't do it, Blizzard. Don't hit Ice Block. We have answers already to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, from our favorite Death Knight cards, my next question, Mimi question, but do you think the Princes will see any meta play at all?
Before
and
we
I'm not
started,
just talking any play, any meta play.
All right, Nathan, I'd like to hear your opinion on this one before I go into my thing.
So, well, I guess the good thing to start with is to talk about who the 3 princes are. The 3 princes that are being talked about, you have a 2-drop Prince Keliseth. It's a. Let me pull it up here.
If your deck has no 2-cost cards, give all minions in your deck +1/+1.
Right. So I think it's going to be really difficult to build an entire deck around Prince Keliseth where he's the only 2-drop. Because, I mean, technically, yes, you can play this card in a way where he doesn't have to be the only 2-drop. But let's be honest, you absolutely want to play Prince Keliseth on turn 2 if you can.
Just play him in a Tempo Druid deck. Just pray to God that you draw both your iterates. Because it's not like other cards where it says you can't have duplicates. There are ways you can make this card consistent. And actually, I'm not so sure. And you can call me crazy, but I think this card wouldn't be terrible in Cthulhu.
That's a fair point.
Cthulhu Druid. Just play all the big rampy Cthulhu cards, and now granted, it won't check as a ritual buff, so the +1/+1 on the Cthulhu would not trigger certain cards that require Cthulhu to be over 10. This card would not affect those.
Question: Would the princes be more powerful if they read 2, 3, or 4 cost minions instead of cards?
Yeah, if the requirement was not if it was restricted to only checking for minions, yeah, they would be much more playable. In fact, though, I think, in my mind, I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce our other 2 princes. Prince Taldaram, Taldaram. I give up. If your deck, yeah, Prince. If your deck has no 3-cost cards, transform this into a 3/3 copy of a minion. I think this card might have some use in a combo deck. I just need to go sit down and look at what all the combos are anymore. Because I think you can play it in Wild, definitely. And I think that's the other thing. This whole set is great for Wild.
Yep.
Absolutely
totally agree.
Great for Wild. They definitely are making good on their promise to vitalize Wild play. I think really the most viable of the princes, though, is our good friend Prince Valinor, who gains Lifesteal and Taunt. Again, though, I'm not sure what deck can go without a 4-drop, or where this is the only 4-drop. Maybe in certain aggro decks, like Token Druid, where you don't have a 4-drop, this card would be really valuable. Even in the same vein, Prince Taldaram would be a potential target, because I don't remember what 3-drops you even play in Token Druid.
That's a good question. I don't really know.
I'm not about to pull up my game to pull up my deck.
Nope, me either right now.
Like, this screen right here is all I've got going on in my mind.
Yeah, so what's the consensus on the princes? Meta play, yes or no?
30% yes. I think they have potential. I don't think they will be high top. I don't think they will be tier 0. I would put them at tier 3.
See, I probably give it a 20% chance of seeing play. I think people will definitely experiment with them in, like I said, Taldaram definitely in combo decks, and then Keliseth maybe in like a really weird zoo type deck maybe. But aside from that, I don't really see them seeing play, no, at all. Any thoughts, Nathan?
I'm not nearly as plugged into the meta as both of you are, but I'm just looking at these, and I think we'll see a lot of memery with them. I'm not sure they're really going to figure real heavily into meta play.
I think you're absolutely right. There will I guarantee you, there will be some sort of meme druid, the Prince of Memes. Hold up, we just got a deck name. The Prince of Memes. Great. And then you play Prince Malchazar on top. That's your Prince for 5 drop. You'll know real fast what cards you don't have in your deck.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, to answer the question asked previously about Token Druid, so I'm looking at what's considered the standard list for Token Druid on Hearthstone top decks. And right now, 2 drops that are typically played in that are Power of the Wild and Mark of Yasharaj. Yep. So Prince Keliseth, you could maybe make that work if you got both your Marks of Yasharaj and Power of the Wilds in your opening hand.
I was going to say
second.
So out of 5 of my 2 drops, out of a 30-card deck, I have to draw 4 of them to make this thing playable.
Right.
Yeah, no. What about 3 drops? There's no 3 drops, are there?
So, actually, yes. You have Tar Creeper, Vicious Fledgling, and Savage Roar.
Vicious Fledgling, yeah. That's kind of a big one.
Yep, because it's a target for Mark of Yasharaj. But I guess you do play Swipe, too. Sometimes.
Yeah, and your 4 drops, I think you're right. Prince of Alinar is probably the best bet for this deck, because you only run 2 4 drops, and that's 1 copy of Swipe and 1 copy of Shell Shifter.
Shell Shifter, I forgot.
Shell Shifter? Really? Huh. I hadn't
because
seen
you
anybody...
Give a charge.
Wait. I thought it was just 3/5 taunt. You can get a 5/3 charge off of that?
Yep.
I think you can get a charge off of it, yeah.
Or 5/3
I believe so.
I think it's stealth. It's definitely not a charger. That's way overstatted. If it's going to be a charger for 4 mana. Because Leroy is 5 mana. Leroy is 5 mana for a 6 attack charger. And he summons the 2 minions to make him, it makes it a 1-shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shell Shifter is a 5/3 with stealth or a 3/5 with taunt.
Yeah, I thought that couldn't be right. So, I have a question. It's not on your list, Muse, and I'm sorry. But
sure. No, go ahead.
What do you guys think with all of the cards that we've seen so far will be the best kind of combos? What kind of... we've seen a lot of, in Warrior with Animated Berserker, just the Whirlwind synergy, self-damaging, and Rage. In Shaman, they're introducing a freeze mechanic, which isn't new, but it was never heavily utilized before. What are your favorite synergies or combos that you would like to build a deck around?
Are we talking meme combos or serious combos?
See, here's the thing. There are certain meme combos, like, for example, my Gnome Feratu with the pandas, that I think are absolutely viable, because you do get 2 copies of Gnome Feratu in a deck, and then you have 4 pandas that will return the Gnome Feratu back to your hand. And some will call that a meme combo, but I don't think it will be. Plus, you can play Cold Light Oracles, and like I said, you can give them the Acolyte of Pain. You can make it a really good mill deck. You could give them the Acolyte of Pain, and then you could play Defile if you have your board set up correctly, and hit the Acolyte of Pain all 3 times, drop the Cold Light, and just laugh.
You could get all 3 procs on the Acolyte if you just dropped a Possessed Villager.
Yep. Yeah.
You got the 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different combos that you can definitely build around, I think.
One that I'm interested to see, I want to see if people build around Meat Wagon at all. Because that's an interesting mechanic.
It's a mech, which makes me happy, because I miss Mech Mage.
See, I started playing after all the mechs rotated, so I missed all the mech craze.
Goblin Mechamancer. When you have a mech on the board and you play it, turn 5, deal 5 random damage. It was great.
I want to see a meat wagon pull a validated Doomsayer. That's what I want to see happen.
Summon from your deck with less attack than this minion.
Validated Doomsayer. Think about it.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's value.
Yep. I want to see that happen.
I love mechanics that let you cheat things out faster than you should normally be able to play them. In fact, I'm actually building... Yeah, Alarmabot. Alarmabot wasn't good, but Alarmabot. You're right.
But it was cheesy.
It was cheesy.
And I'm just waiting for the first instance someone tries to do that and instead pops out a Lore Walker Cho.
That would be great too.
Actually,
Cho, the new legendary that isn't new. So for those of you that didn't know, Ben Brode and Brian Kibler both were on the live stream today for Play Hearthstone, and they were revealing the last couple of cards, and they had a lot of random effects go off. We saw 3 classic set legendaries show up out of the blue when the goal of the whole stream was to get to see what the new legendaries were. And today they revealed Garrosh, Malfurion, and Gul'dan.
The Druid, Warrior, and Warlock hero cards, respectively, for people who aren't familiar.
The Druid had already been revealed.
Oh, had it? Oh.
Yeah, they played with it, but they were just revealing for the first time Warlock and Warrior.
Joke's on me. Shows you how much I've been... I have been doing a really great job of kind of avoiding most of these cards. Of course, I see them as they get dropped in the chat. But, for example, cards like Treachery. Like, that card is a great card. I couldn't help but look at that card and then try and find synergy with that. And probably one of the best synergy combos with that card is our friend, the little Bone Rattler. Let's see if I can find him on the page.
Bone Rattler. Is that, you mean the Rattling Rascal?
Yeah. The 4-drop that summons the...
that was going to be a card I was going to bring up.
That
I see
is
so much
fun
things happening with that card.
Yeah. Just give... you get a 5/5 skeleton, give them the 2/2, and then you get to get another 5/5 skeleton after you kill it. Like, it's great. Where do you go wrong with this? The other way that you can make this card really great is just play Evolve Shaman, because odds are that the 5/5 skeleton is also going to be a 4-cost card. So you can attack with these on the next turn, or at least with the 5/5, and then evolve, and you have 2 5/5s. So much value.
Yep. There was another one that I thought would be decent, and where was the it was a taunt that summoned a copy of it. And I thought that would be decent in Evolve Shaman. Where'd that go?
Yo, what?
Sauronite Chain Gang.
Yes, yeah.
I never saw this card before. Grave Shambler. Whenever your weapon is destroyed, gain +1/+1 what? What?
Wait, and it's an elemental?
Yeah. Elemental Rogue? Question mark? It just gets bigger. Because you weapon on turn 3, you have it set to 1/1 durability. You play this on turn 4, it's 5/5.
True.
It's great.
5/5 for 4.
What's that? They're going to ooze your weapon? Okay. It's also good in any deck that plays weapons.
Someone pointed this out on Reddit. Wicked Skeleton, the 4-drop 1/1 that gains 1/1 for each minion that died this turn. I wonder if you could combo that with Defile.
It's a 4-drop?
Yeah, 4 mana 1/1 that gains +1/+1 for every minion that died this turn.
That's battle cry?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can set up that board, you would. I would rather see it comboed with like Hellfire. I feel like it would be more something more consistent. Ideally, yes. If you could set it up, it'd be pretty cheesy. I don't know how consistent you'll be able to make. I don't know how big you can really make that on turn 6.
Yeah. That was just something that I'd seen pointed out that I thought could potentially.
It's a good idea. Don't get me wrong. I don't see the same value. What if I'm excited? Last card that I want to talk about for combo, Control Warrior. Bring it on! Gain 10 armor, reduce the cost of minions in your opponent's hand by 2. You know when you play this? Right before you play Brawl.
Yep.
Like,
or if you're playing against an aggro deck that literally has nothing in hand when you play this.
Yeah, it's pretty great. This is an amazing control card. Plus, you could just go, bring it on, Shield Slam. That's a dead Ysera. That's a dead
Yes, it is.
anything, except for maybe Osric. But nobody plays that terrible Elemental. I guess it doesn't kill a Cthulhu necessarily, but it gets there.
While we're talking about combo-ish warrior cards, what about Dead Man's Hand?
I like Dead Man's Hand. And I shared this with you earlier, Muse. Dead Man's Hand is a 2-mana card that says, shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. You want to know what deck needs that?
Don't say it. Don't say
I'm going to say it! Pirate Warrior! Yar har fiddly-dee, setting your patches all free in the deck! Yar har fiddly-ho, it is the pirates! You throw your pirates back in your deck, like patches, where it has more immediate value when you draw it. Because there's a lot of times you'll find you draw patches turn 1, turn 2, and you cry. Because you weren't able to get that value out. Well, you use this card, you shuffle everything back into your deck. So you can also duplicate copies of Mortal Strike. You can duplicate copies of weapons so that you could just keep constantly putting that pressure on. There's no way you can lose with this card. And then, if you're going for the weapon variant, there's a new card that also draws you weapons. So if you draw all your low-end weapons too fast, you can shuffle copies of them in your deck, burn them faster than you normally would, and then redraw them later on, and keep that constant pummel of pressure. And then you can drop your 3-drop, South Sea Captain, that gives all your pirates +1/+1. You have a 2/2 patches. It's so good!
That's definitely an interesting combo that I could see. I can totally see that.
It just gives some more extension to Pirate Warriors, what it does.
My next question was, with Knights of the Frozen Throne, do you think any of the quests get better? The one thing that came to mind was the Warlock quest with the new hero card, with the new Death Knight card.
So here's what the Death Knight card says, though. That died.
Right.
So unless you're dropping your 5/7, the Doom Guard, unless you're dropping your Doom Guards, like all in all, this card's really good by itself. I think it should be included for any Warlock deck that is looking at a potential long game. And I really do think we're going to continue on a trend of a control mid-range meta with this set. So that being said, yeah, it does help synergize with Lakari Sacrifice in a certain extent.
Because realistically, the only discard cards you would need to put into your deck would be the Fellhound, and the
Doom Guards.
Doom Guards, and those would be resurrected by the Death Knight card.
Yep, by the battle cry. Summon all friendly demons. And you could design the deck where... Because that discards 8 cards with those 4 cards. I would still play Soulfire for the spot removal. Just be careful of when you play it. And pad your bets with Life Tap.
Yeah. But
Plus,
I mean...
there's so much control now between the new spell and Defile. Also, you have Howl Fiend. So if you want to play an empty-handed deck, by all means... That card exists.
Someone pointed out, what if you Howl Fiended into Treachery?
Oh, hey, you remember my lovely little deck idea of milling?
Yep.
Thanks, friend, for pointing that out.
Yep. And then you just burn all their cards.
I would just, and at that point, I would just keep that card in my hand late game just to, for discard fodder. Because that was a big power of Disco Lock before we lost Fist of Jiraxis with the rotation, was that you would pad your bets to get Fist of Jiraxis and the Silverware Golems so that you would get a 50, 60, 75% chance of discarding something that will help you win the game.
Yep. And
all
then
right, so,
we lost Fist of Jiraxis and got Clutch Mother.
Yep. Yeah. Which still isn't terrible, but it's a beast. It's not a demon.
Yeah.
Not that you would want to revive it, because if you revive it, it's going to come back as a 2/2.
Yep. So quests that get better, maybe Warlock. Can you think of any others?
I mean, I think
potentially Priest, because there are a whole lot of new good death rattles.
Yeah? Yeah.
I was going to bring that up because one of the first things I want to do is make a quest priest deck that take all of these conditional death rattle cards and just shove them into a deck and see what happens. Will it be good? Quest? I don't know, but I want to try it.
What's a hunter quest?
One that will never be viable.
Ever. Especially when they gave us a card that says destroy all 1-cost spells. I mean,
Skulking Geist.
Oh, no, wait. Sorry. I keep reading this card incorrectly because I'm in magic mode. Minions are not spells.
No, they're not.
That's the Jade Idol Killer.
Yeah, Priest, I can see maybe getting marginally better. Did KFT give us what it needed to be a really strong deck? I'm not sure. I will have to test it out and see.
We'll see with the lifesteal stuff. Honestly, Garrosh. Garrosh gives a great win condition for Taunt Warrior.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
It's 12 extra damage after you get to Sulfuras. And you can actually hold Sulfuras till after you play this, if you desperately want to. Because there comes a point where you can't just roll the dice on 8 damage, you know? Like, it's good, but if you're fighting against a token deck that's already rushing you down, 8 damage to a 1-attack minion isn't going to save you. But I think Shadowmourne is just really good.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Just by and by.
4 AoE damage. So good.
The control is real. And again, going back to Bring It On, you play this, you play Bring It On in anticipation for Shadowmourne, Brawl, or something else that blows up the whole board. You know? Fool's Bane. I saw a really funny Noggenfire deck that used Fool's Bane. It's great. I think it was actually a Toast deck.
I saw that one too.
Pretty sure Toast is the one that did it.
That sounds like a Toast deck.
So, we talked about... I'm sorry, what were you asking?
I was just looking at the Paladin cards. Do you think Paladin Quest gets any better or not? Because they only got 2 buffing cards,
Don't
realistically.
look at those. Don't look at those. Look at the 1-drops. You have the Pitchfork dude who gives he deals 2 damage when he attacks. Give that sucker Wind Fury off of adaptation. Turn 2, that is 6 damage on turn 2 from 1 minion. God forbid that you give it Wind Fury and double attack. Sorry, Wind Fury and +3 attack on turn 2 because you were lucky enough to get the extra +3 off of your other adaptation. Or even in the set, Akaris Veteran, give a friendly minion +1 attack for a 1-drop. That's permanent. That thing replaces Abusive Sergeant. So you tell me, boss. Does that make Quest Pally better? I say yes, absolutely.
I think
we got some amazing 1-drops.
I think it makes it easier to complete the quest. Does it make the quest deck better, though?
Yes, absolutely. Just the better quality of minions. Being able to trade up like that. Using 1-drops to make other 1-drops trade into 3 and 4-drops is absolutely bonkers.
I can see that. We'll have to see how that pans
Not to
out.
mention Murloc, the Murloc quest pally, which is very unexplored. But you have Dreadscale Knight, which has Lifesteal. It's a generic. It's neutral. It's great. Live it, love it, good. So
you've also got cards in Paladin now like Righteous Protector, which is a 1/1 with Taunt and Divine Shield.
I'm going to hate that card so much. I already know it.
God bless America.
I love the card and I hate it. I already know it.
God bless that red-blooded American standing up as a beacon of hope as a 1-drop.
Yep. It's so gosh darn sticky.
It's so sticky, especially with the spell where you bring back a minion for 1 health. What's that? You play that with the secret? Redemption?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
and then,
oh man, yeah. And then
I honestly think one of my favorite cards in the set, and it's taken quite a bit of flack, was Bolvar Fireblood. Not just because Bolvar is one of my favorite characters in the WoW lore, but because it takes the original Bolvar card and what it did, and it turns into something a lot more interesting. The Bolvar Fireblood is a Divine Shield minion that when a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, it gains +2 attack. So for 5 mana, you're getting a 1/7 that when it gets pinged off becomes a 3/7. And if you happen to have any other Divine Shield minions out there that when they get pinged off, it still gains 2 attack. Now, when they debuted it,
Blood Knight.
Yeah.
Just you get yourself a 9/9 Blood Knight, and then what's that? If you ping off 3 shields, 6, then you get a 7/7 for 5.
Exactly.
Seems good to me.
I mean, that's a little pie in the sky. I admit that, but a 5 mana a 7 health minion with 5 mana plus Divine Shield, which means it's going to take at minimum 8 damage to get rid of it on turn 5.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It is a really good card. I think that's a really good assessment of it. Yeah, it is very sticky and it's overstated. Very well to fit the class. Honestly, I see a potential resurgence of hand buff. Just play all of the Divine Shield cards, hand buff, drop full Bolvar.
Yeah,
can you
I
imagine-
can definitely see that.
Can you imagine turn 5 drop Bolvar, turn
Standing
6
as a
drop Spike
4
Ridge
and-
Steed on top of it?
Oh my god!
Value!
I just puked in my mouth a little.
You have a 3/13 with Divine Shield.
Oh.
Ugh.
Oh.
That turns into a 2/6 even if you get rid of it.
Exactly.
Master spell meta, boys!
See, I say that every expansion, and then it never
It's a
actually
joke.
comes
It's a
into
joke.
reality.
Like, I ran
know.
it. I ran it. I did for about 2 weeks, and I was like, well, this card's doing nothing.
Yeah, basically.
Like, they're just...
You're better just running one copy of Silence.
Right. For whatever happens to magically get buffed off of a battle cry.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to make that example even worse, turn 5 Bolvar Fireblood, turn 6 Spike Ridge Steed,
Turn 7 Spike Ridge Steed and adapt for Wind Fury?
I was thinking turn 7 Bone Mare. +4/+4 plus taunt.
Oh, you're disgusting. It's just asking to get hard removed.
Vile
Because at that
Spline,
point-
every rogue deck.
That's so dirty.
Because at that point it's a 7/17 with Divine Shield and taunt.
Can I just say, after 3 turns, if it still has Divine Shield, your opponent is doing something horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I just like to point that out.
And you can still
yes,
be giving it
you're-
more Divine Shield. You can actually play the 1-drop spell that gives it Divine Shield. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
true.
Is this the Miracle Paladin? Wait! I can make this better! Guys! I can make this better!
Lay it on us.
The 5-drop spell that doubles attack. So guys, is Quest Pally viable? Because this card's sounding, nutty. In a fun
Find out
way.
next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah.
Alright, so that was...
So we've gone over great cards this whole time. I want to talk about bottom tier, scraping the bottom of the booty jello.
Shallow Gravedigger. Can I start there?
Shallow Gravedigger. What'd it do?
This is such a crap card. I absolutely hate this card. The 3-mana 3/1 Death Rattle and add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. There's so many bad Death Rattles you can get. I don't see that card being good at all.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't play that in a Nazoth deck.
It has niche value, but a 3/1 for 3 that's really slow, I don't really like it.
I mean, sure.
In this, if we keep the same meta, and the meta's going to change a bit, but in this meta, it's way too slow and way too undervalued.
You think it's better as a wild card? Like for vintage play, basically?
Maybe, but then again, even there's still a lot of really bad Death Rattles you can get. I don't think it's a great card. That's my hate card.
My hate card for the set is the freaking Mage Epic Glacial Mysteries.
OMG, Eater of Secrets value.
Put one of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. You're drawing secrets and playing them on the same turn because you're playing a good deck with a 1-drop that gives you 0-cost spells and a 3-cost that gives you 0-drop secrets. This card is bad. This card is a nerf to any rogue. The only value this card would get is if you were so unfortunate as to draft every secret in Arena. And even then, it puts up a Christmas tree, but with no body on it.
Yeah.
Like, if it summoned, like, a weird 3/3 elemental with stealth or something, that would be kind of cool. Like an elemental book, since it's got that on the art here. Or maybe give you a token that says, hey, generate a secret, and it costs 1 less at the end of every turn. That would have been a much better designed card. This is pack filler.
Yeah, essentially. So Nathan, what you got on hate cards?
Let's see.
Anything that you thought was just hugely overrated?
Well, I was going to say Gnome Feratu, but we've already talked about that card in depth. So,
And why that card's great?
and also, well, Kibler did a really good video on why the problem with Gnome Feratu, and it's the Schrodinger's fireball problem, right?
Yep. Absolutely. But we actually kind of addressed that to a certain extent with the 3/6 with Howl Fiend. Just give them Howl Fiend, run Defile, trigger Defile multiple times, and you fix that problem even more so.
Gnome Feratu might see play in one specific deck, but in general, meta play, I don't think so.
It's a good zoo card.
It's a River Crocolisk.
Bottom line, it's a 2-drop. That's River Crocolisk, and it has a powerful battle cry. Again, Schrodinger's Fireball. Is it a fireball? Is it a combo piece? Won't know until you look at it. Look at the top card of your opponent's deck. But that's one less card that fits into your opponent's game plan that they have to play with. Regardless if it's a fireball, even if it's a small card, because a lot of times it's just small cards that get you. Hi, Patches. This is one of the few cards that I kind of disagree. Well, not necessarily disagree. Kibler's not wrong. More often than not, it's not going to have an incredible impact on the game. But when it does, and again, the way I address this card and the way I'm going to treat this card with the Panda Bounce synergy, just making it a combo deck with Gnome Feratu, just sit there and force them to drop all their cards, or I can give them Acolyte of Pain, overdraw their cards, and then start doing that. I definitely disagree that it's a terrible card. It is an okay card.
Alright, so we've exhausted the Gnome Feratu discussion. Nathan, you said you had another card in mind for hate card?
Yeah, I'm kind of divided. They're both rogue cards. The one is... I was kind of underwhelmed with the rogue legendary Lillian Voss.
Okay.
I tend to agree, but I also think it's one of those rogue problems that it will see play later because someone will find a deck that it works in.
So, okay. Speaking of this card, so I actually was fighting a guy earlier this week who actually had this brilliant Burrow Rogue deck. This card...
Is that the one that I spectated you on?
Yes!
That
yes,
one?
It is.
I know what you're talking about.
And this card is actually incredible for the Burgle Rogue deck, because you can play all the crappiest rogue spells. You can play Shiv, you can play any spell. Okay. You drop Lillian Voss, which is a tempo 4/5. She takes the place of Shaku the Collector. Actually, you would still play Shaku because he has pure card advantage, plus he's a stealth body. So you're guaranteed to get that +1 off of him. You play Lillian Voss into the tempo 5/6 Peddler, and all the spells in your hand get reduced by 2. Okay. It has its potential. It absolutely does.
I
especially
agree.
With the Doomerang.
Doomerang is a hilarious card. I love the design on this card so much.
Mm-hmm.
So what we were talking about is you can play Doom. You can get Doomerang, equip the Obsidian Fragment that we got in Umgoro. You equip that card for free, and you just Doomerang twice. And hypothetically, you can do it even more if you're fighting another rogue, because you will run Hallucinate in this deck to get other copies of your opponent's spells. That one actually lets you discover and pick.
Yep. One thing I also saw that I think may have potential for Lillian Voss is going late game in Miracle Rogue when you have just a bunch of really cheap spells that aren't really going to do you a whole ton of good. Turn them into other spells that you might find
Turn them into
useful.
fireballs. Turn them into frostbolts.
Turn them into something else that late game would get you more value than the cheap rogue spells you have. That was another use for it that I saw brought out. Alright, so hate cards. This next question, we can keep this short. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a definite yes and 0 being a definite no, have Hunter and Warlock been saved? And you just keep these pretty short, just kind of yes or no, scale of 1 to 10 things. Have Warlock and Hunter been saved?
Warlock definitely has. I think Yogg Hunter has a chance with Putricide. Just being able to get extra secrets out on the board. Play Dead with the N'Zoth deck. Use Play Dead.
Play Dead's art is so freaking cute. Can I just say that?
It is so adorable.
I love
Look at this
art
dog.
on Play Dead.
Look at this pupper.
So
look at the little zombie pupper with the, unfurred jaw just kind of out there ready.
And the random bones sticking out of his body.
Yeah. What's not to
It's
love?
so cute.
It's a zombie dog. Hello, I'm Pupper. I'm also zombie. Doing you a friggin' bite.
Grr.
Heckin' brains.
Alright, so I tend to agree. Warlock, I definitely think is close to being saved. I definitely give it like a 7 or an 8 as to yes. Hunter, I don't know what to think of Hunter yet. I'm going to give it a 5 just because I have no earthly idea what to think of Hunter right now.
I think N'Zoth Hunter will be extremely powerful because of the Abominable Bowman. And I think you would only play Savannah Hyman. That's the only beast in that deck. That way you just get infinite value. You just play the deck super tempo.
Yeah.
I think you could keep Savannah Hyman as your exclusive beast. Just to get so much value late game. Not to mention, as soon as you drop N'Zoth, just crap on the board.
Yeah, the one issue I have with that is it's Hunter's problem right now. I don't think they really got any good anti-aggro tools. Aside from Deathstalker Rexar's Battlecry. That's Hunter's one big issue right now is...
That's fair, I guess.
It gets outclassed by other aggro decks most of the time.
Well,
Yeah.
we also are getting the Exploding Bloat Bat, which deals 2 damage to all enemy minions.
That's very true, but at 4 mana, I'm not sure. Because, I mean, you would just run an
play it
explosive
on top of
trap in
Umbra.
that case. Yeah.
Like, there's no reason not to combo these together with Umbra, especially with Explosive Trap, just to have a 6 damage AoE ready, just in the pocket. 3 cards to do AoE 6 damage, plus you get 5 stats at 8 mana. Yeah.
It has potential. I just don't know if it'd be consistent enough.
It's slow. Definitely slow. But, I think there's a lot of value in the spell control abilities of Yogg right now. As it stands now, even before we get into this next set. We're also going to be seeing Play Dead, where you're going to get more Death Rattle synergy. And actually, you can play Play Dead with the Raptor we got in Ungoro to shuffle the 1-mana 4/3.
Fair point.
That, and you also have one of the cards that was considered pack filler in Ungoro for Hunter was Terrascale Stalker.
Yep.
That card was not... I think that's a card that has taken some time to understand the value of it.
That's a card that I don't think had the right support.
Correct.
I think it's finally getting that in Knights of the Frozen Throne, because we're getting better Hunter Death Rattles, and we're getting just better Death Rattles in general.
Not to mention, it plays into some of the hand buff stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Nathan, what do you think about Warlock and Hunter?
Warlock, I think Warlock is going to go from being the worst class in the current meta to no longer being the worst class. Will it be top tier again? I have my doubts. As for Hunter, I think there's some potential there for maybe like a Death Rattle Secret Hunter, particularly with Putricide and Play Dead and some of the other Death Rattle effects. But I think if Hunter is going to excel, it's not going to be the face Hunter or mid-range Hunter as we currently understand it.
I tend to agree, because I definitely think a mid-rangey N'Zoth Hunter has potential. Will it actually be good? I have serious doubts, but I'm going to test it because I love N'Zoth Hunter.
I'm not getting my hopes up, because I unpacked the Hunter quest in Ungoro, hoping it would be really, really good, and
they really just need to adjust it from 6 to, or what is it, 8 1-drops? 6 1-drops?
7.
Really just needs to be dropped down to 6.
The problem is it's a quest that's inherently flawed, and I don't think it'll ever be good, just for the fact that it wants you to play an aggro deck that makes you miss your 1 turn. And I think it's just too inherently broken to save. I love the quest. I
don't
tried
think
so
turn
hard to
1
make it.
is necessarily as important anymore, though. Especially, so the reason I say this is because turn 5 you're dropping Carnassa, right?
You should be.
You should be. Okay. You're also playing... I think you could absolutely get away with playing Deathstalker Rexar. And also you'll notice that most of those decks did not play Dynamancy.
Yeah.
And that was...
Dynamancy was a card that I really wish would have been good in Ungoro. And maybe it'll get better with KFT.
I don't think that it was bad in Ungoro. I just think, and again, going to one of my previous comments in the whole conversation, is that Hearthstone players, by the by, are not good deck builders. They also are very meh at making good synergizing plays. And I'm not one to talk about that a lot of times, even though I've been playing card games since I was 6 years old. Just the other day when I was on the stream, I missed Lethal really hard.
Ouch.
Yeah, no, I was... And then I could not recover, much to my dismay. I was playing Elemental Mage. But I'm proud to say that most of my decks, I'll hear about a handful of cards or a deck type, and I'm able to usually compile it. The other nice thing that Hearthstone has in general is that most decks should write themselves. Should.
Yeah.
Where I was going with that, I lost my point. But
All right. Well, discussed Hunter and Warlock. My next question is more of a broader one. What classes or decks really scare you going into KFT?
not Druid.
Really? You don't think Token Druid got really powerful with some of the taunts they got?
Some of the taunts.
I mean, some of the
There's-
taunts to hide their tokens behind and keep buffing?
Yeah. I already played decks with extremely hard removal anyway. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Probably the two big decks I'm gonna be playing are going to be the reverse Disco Lock with Gnome and then I'm gonna be messing around in Rogue, where I'm gonna have access to Vile Spine Slayer. So, what concern do I have of anything big? Unless you make it so that I can't target it with a spell, so I don't have the same concern.
Yeah, that's fair. I get. We'll have to see. Token Druid is one that kind of worries me. Another is just Paladin in general. Paladin was already pretty strong, and it just got some really good cards.
I think we saw another rebalancing. Is really what happened here. Hunter still is not great, but it's far from the worst. It's not where Warlock has been in the last 2 months.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, I have a hard time saying that any of the decks are, any of the classes are especially garbage. I don't think that's true this time around. I think everybody has a solid game plan or has a lot of options.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that as the year of the Kraken rolls out next spring, I think we're going to have a lot of... What's that?
Year of the Mammoth. Kraken was last year.
That's what I'm saying. When Year of the Kraken rotates out, I think you're going to see a lot of decks shift towards some of these archetypes. Some of the double end of turn stuff. A lot of the Death Rattle stuff is going to change focus because you don't have access to the old gods anymore. Now, granted, that only matters if you play Standard exclusively. At this point, we're getting the realization that we shouldn't dust our old cards anymore because they have started awarding championship points to the top players of Wild. So they are looking to have those in the coming year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
speaking of Paladin, do you think Bubble Pally comes back?
I think Clown Fiesta Pally comes back. What with these?
What do you mean by that?
So the Clown Fiesta deck was a really fun deck. You would play all the 0-mana 1/1s. You would play Wisps and Tiny Fin, and then you would play Divine. You draw as many cards as your opponent has. You would just dump your hand, have the North Sheer Defender, 3-mana 3/3 that gives 1/1s or 1 health minions, Divine Shield.
Steward of Darkshire.
Thank you. I knew somebody would have it tucked in there. I've really taken a huge break from Hearthstone with this move. I'm still recovering from that. But Clown Fiesta, you would do all that, then you would draw an obscene amount of cards. You would play the Sword that gives all your Divine Shield minions +1/+1, or you would play a Death Knight where you have the Paladin equivalent of Van Cleef.
So do you think with Light's Sorrow and Bolvar we see a resurgence of something like that?
Not necessarily with Bolvar, but with Righteous Protector. Absolutely. There's a lot of great 1-health minions that synergize with it. The Wicked Skeleton, for example, because it comes in at 1 mana with 1 health, it does have the opportunity to come. And we'll have to test this and see, but I guess it would depend on which order the cards check. Battlecry first, or when a minion is played. So which one has precedence? Because you could get that Wicked Skeleton to... Yeah, I don't know the order priority.
I think Battlecry has precedence because Battlecries always happen unless a secret interacts with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's other cards...
secrets happen after. I want to say Battlecries always get precedence no matter what.
I'm not sure. There's just a lot of 1-health minions, so the Dreadscale Knight is great. You have the Tainted Zealot, which has Divine Shield and spell damage, so you could combo off with Consecration with that card.
Mm-hmm.
So
the reason I kind of say that is because Rallying Blade was already pretty meta in Paladin decks.
Yeah.
So add Bolvar and a few of these. I mean, even just Righteous Protector, and then, like you said, the one that has Divine Shield and spell damage. Just a few more with those cards.
Yeah, and then you replace Tiny Fin with Snow Flipper, and voila, you have the Clown Fiesta.
Yep.
It's just a great aggro deck that just runs really fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
that's one deck I definitely see coming back.
If you really want to add to the new Clown Fiesta, throw in Wretched Tiller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that
Which one
card.
is that?
That's the one when it attacks, deals 2 damage to your enemy hero. Is on
giving that Divine Shield. Ew.
Give that Divine Shield. Give it Wind Fury off of the adaptation spell. The sky's the limit, boys.
Yep, definitely agree.
It's Vicious Fledgling, but worse.
Other decks or classes that scare you or worry you, or that you don't want to play against going into KFT?
Disco Lock. Actually, I really don't want to have to fight it. I think Blood Queen Lanathe? I think
it's Lanathel.
Lanathel? The Blood Queen. Lifesteal has +1 attack for each card you've discarded this game. That's a good card to me. Pushed up against the wall, where does this card not help you out? It's great in Handlock, so that it's going to see play in the Death Knight deck.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you play aggressive discard, you can pad around this card with Silverware Golems if you want to play the actual discard deck. If you want to make Lucari Sacrifice, this is a good card to have if you somehow manage to whiff on your portal summon. Whether or not you discarded it on accident because of the way Doomguard works. Unless they fixed that. Did they fix how Doomguard works with the discard? Because there was a bug, if you could call it that, where you would play Doomguard, you would discard 2 cards, and the quest would be among the 2 cards.
I don't remember that being an issue, so I don't know if they ever fixed it.
To be fair, nobody played the deck.
Yeah, that too.
It wasn't fast enough.
Yep. It was one of those decks that if you hit everything, you just killed somebody by turn 4, but if you didn't, you were just dead by turn 4.
Yeah.
And it was more like 70% of the time you didn't hit it. So, decks... Alright, so what are decks you're looking forward to building and testing and playing?
All the control decks. All of them.
Same.
All of the combo decks.
Actually, one of the first things I already said the quest priest with all the random like conditional death rattles just to see what happens. But then I really want to try building like a tempo elemental priest deck with some of the early drops they got this expansion. Like it actually has potential.
I just realized the Grave Shambler actually works really well with the Jade Elemental Shaman. Because you have the Gauntlet that breaks.
Yeah, Jade Elemental Shaman has been one I've been experimenting with in the current meta, and it's one of those decks that seems like a solid tier 2 deck that's on the cusp of becoming tier 1, but there's just something missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. That's the deck that I've really been laddering with the past 2 seasons, and it's a pretty strong deck.
Personally, I think that making the Jade Spirit an elemental was a mistake, but it makes sense for it to be an elemental in concurrent with everything else. But man, it's a problem. Oh, hey! I just found a cool card. Ice Walker. Your hero power also freezes the target?
Oh yeah, you didn't see that?
Shatter!
Yeah.
Huh. They made Shatter playable. Look at that.
Yeah, that was a card that I saw mixed reactions on. People either thought it was okay or they thought it was bad.
Control Freeze Mage. You know, your opponent can't hit you if they're frozen.
Yep. I mean, there was actually quite a lot of freezing-ish mage support this expansion. Maybe it finally happens.
Maybe. I'm excited.
Yep.
Cold Wraith Battlecry. If an enemy is frozen, draw a card? What?
Yeah.
That's awesome!
They got some pretty...
It's a premium stat body. 3 mana for a 3/4. And you draw a card? It's pretty good.
The other deck, we've already talked about it, that I'm looking forward to building is Quest Warlock with the new Death Knight.
Yeah.
I think that has potential to be a good deck.
Yeah.
Like a super control-y... Like I said, just put the Fellhound and the Doomguard in for your discard cards, and a Soulfire. And yeah, I can see that deck being actually kind of nasty if it doesn't die to aggro immediately. Which is always the big question with those control decks.
Alrighty. Did we have any more questions?
There was one more that I had that was kind of an overarching question with all the new interesting mechanics that we've seen, like the one Death Knight. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Death Knight cards. The not the hero cards, but the actual Death Knight cards themselves.
You know, those aren't even listed on this page.
They're not. There was Blizzard gave us something. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because Blizzard did give us some kind of list that had all of them on it. Let me see if I can get this real quick. No, where was the stream? Ah, there it is. Aha, okay. Let me send this in Discord really quick.
Sure.
There's a link to...
There we go.
And that has all the Death Knight cards on them. Let me pull this over to my other monitor real quick.
Now, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, these are cards that are generated by the Lich King and Arthas. You have a chance to get one of these cards, and I think probably they procced these cards 8 times, I think.
Yeah, we did see all of them.
We did end up
in the
seeing
reveal
all
stream.
of them, but I think we only saw Frostmourne come out once.
Yeah. I don't really think... We didn't see Doompact played, but I think the rest of them... No, I don't think we saw Obliterate played either. But everything else I believe we saw played. But yeah, these are cards that kind of like the Dream cards from Ysera. You can't put them in your deck, you get them through other means. And some of these are just bonkers. Anti-Magic Shell? Are you kidding me? Like, that's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Army of the Dead is kind of crazy. Frostmourne, I mean... Kill Tyrion, get a Tyrion when the weapon's gone?
Seems pretty good.
Seems pretty good. Death Grip, we got an actual card that actually steals cards. It doesn't just copy, it actually steals a card from your opponent's deck. Like, yeah, some of these cards are bonkers.
Hopefully
But-
they fixed that in the spaghetti code as opposed to tracking, which did not remove the cards from deck.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But the reason I brought those up was we've seen more than usual. I think we've seen a lot of newer, more interesting mechanics played. Like for instance, like I said, actual card stealing, throwing your weapons. We get an actual insta win con with the Pally Death Knight. Will it ever happen? No, but it's super hilarious.
The fact that it's a threat and they have to stay on top of it is the real kicker on that one. And there's nothing saying that those cards can't be enchanted to have the 6/6 bodies.
Yep, very true. But these different things we've seen, the secret death rattle from the one druid card, all the conditional death rattles we saw that only happened if it was on your opponent's turn. Like, how do you feel about all these new mechanics? Is it good for the game, bad for the game? What do we feel about all this interesting new stuff that's being added?
New mechanics tend to always bring a lot of health and diversity to a game. Lifesteal, for example, being the prime example. We have a couple of cards that functioned similarly, but now they are accessible to all classes through several neutral minions that take their place.
Lifesteal Beast for Hunter, hallelujah.
God bless them. All in all, I like everything in this set. There's only a handful of cards that I would say are absolutely garbage and unplayable. Even the commons. There is not a pack filler common that has been shown so far. Now, I'm sure there is some weird 8 mana 420 or 120, with taunt or something dumb that they might give us as pack filler. But I think, and I didn't look, is this all the cards? We're not waiting on any other cards.
This is all the cards in the expansion. There are no more. This is the card.
Okay. So we don't even have any garbage filler cards. Like, all of the commons do something. And that's really important. Because you can tell new players, yes, jump into this new set. Get as many packs as you can from doing the quests. Play with your friends. This is a great set for people to come in and learn, I think. Because it incorporates a lot of old mechanics and new mechanics. People will get classic packs from their brawls and arenas. No, wait, arena gives you the most recent set. So they'll get packs out of that. I love this set. I wish I had the money to drop on it right now, but I'm going to have to do the free-to-play route for quite a while.
I feel exactly the same way. I feel like this skill ceiling of the game went up. It didn't go up by a huge amount, but I feel it definitely went up.
I don't think that's the word you're looking. I think you mean the barrier to entry may have dropped.
No, I was the skill ceiling might not be exactly the word I was thinking of, but the mechanical complexity maybe. There's newer things being added and
I would agree
more
with that.
interactions you have to think of.
Yeah, that is much more agreeable because I don't think there's anything crazy about this set that requires I have to think for 10 minutes about how I'm gonna make this turn happen.
Yeah.
I think
outside of the Rogue Death Knight, I would agree.
But that's playing Rogue. That's always been
True.
playing Rogue.
Fair point.
Yeah, Rogue has always been the mechanically most complex class.
And it's not even necessarily that it's mechanically complex. It's literally, I can draw out 20 cards from my deck and be able to combine cards to make 30 damage. They've just had that availability to them. Or I can I can do all these little things and then drop a 12/12 and just threaten my opponent to say, deal with this or die.
Yep. So, what do you think, Nathan? As a newer player, how do you feel about all these new things being added to the game? These new mechanics.
Well, personally, I like the direction that's happening here. New mechanics always make things more interesting. On the other hand, part of me wonders, Blizzard, when they originally designed Hearthstone to be a casual card game.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much they're going to lose of the casual audience as they ramp up the complexity of the game.
I can't even say that they've ramped up any complexity, though. Most of these cards are purely playing off of other cards that we've already had, or concepts that were already there. Like, I understand what you're saying, but that's the whole point of why they made the wild format. And there's never been anything stopping people from making fun decks and going and press the casual button. I really think that there might want to be a qualifier or like, hey, what level of play are you looking for maybe when you hit casual button? That might be interesting, but that will require some heavy tuning on Blizzard's part to make sure people aren't going into Raffle Stomp on new players.
Because see, that's my thing, is as a relatively newer player, it's still pretty fresh on my mind how I was told, oh, well, if you just want to practice, go into casual. Yeah, no, that was a terrible idea. Because I got Raffle Stomped over and over and over, and it's what made me hate the game when I first started. I actually quit Hearthstone for about a month after I first started because I did not enjoy the game, because every time I would go into casual or ranked or any mode, I would just get utterly Raffle Stomped. And with the introduction of some of the things in the set, I think they're good for the game as a whole. But I wonder if Blizzard isn't trying to cash in on the esports cachet of the game as it grows more as an esport, if they're going to start losing some of the people who play more casually like I do. Because yes, I will put down money for this set because I really, really like it. But as someone who doesn't have the time to spend grinding out gold and dust to make the meta-defining decks. If I want to remain competitive, or if I want to be able to play the game the way it's intended, am I going to have to gear myself more competitive? Or I don't know. What I keep running into is it seems like what Blizzard's trying to do is make the game more appealing for the people who've been playing the longest, but they might be accidentally tuning out the people who are new to the game.
That's fair. And I think you definitely have a lot of meritable points there. I do agree that as time goes on, and that's part of why they introduced the standard system, so that you could only play cards within this window of time. You know, by the time Year of the Kraken rotates out, we are losing 3 sets? No, sorry. 2 sets and an adventure. With Karazhan, Mean Streets.
And Whispers, yeah.
And Whispers.
That sounds right.
That's 3 things?
Yeah, I think that's it.
So, and those sets were pretty large, but again, I'll point out this fact, and this is where I think they are helping more of the new players and casual players. There's not a common in this set that does nothing. Every one of these cards has some pretty powerful impact with premium stat lines. A lot of throwbacks to like Naxxramas, the laboratory, which had a lot of premium statted cards that were just not oppressive. They were just too good to not have, and you could drop $20 and you could have everything. It's great. Plus, the adventure was really well designed and fun. But you've got cards like Bone Mare. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. That's incredible. That's probably going to be... It's a common. Yeah, that's great. Happy Ghoul. Costs 0. That's rare. But you're going to unpack a golden card sometime in your life. Sunborn Valkyr. 5 mana, 5/4, give adjacent minions +2 health. That's overstated as opposed to cards from Classic or any of the other sets where you have the buffing mechanics.
You mentioned all the commons and rares doing something. I just went back and looked through all the cards. The only card that has no text is Snow Flipper Penguin. And that's it. Every other card has text of some kind.
And Snow Flipper Penguin, its whole thing is it's 0 mana.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's another Wisp variant, which, like I said, even that's useful because you have Clown Fiesta aggro.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, your point about, every single card doing something, I definitely agree. And I definitely think this is a very good set to get in on if you want to buy in.
Which, to go back to what I was saying before, I think part of the reason I had so much trouble when I first started is because I came in right smack in the middle of the Mean Streets meta.
Which was agreeably very rough. You could build common deck, Pirate Warrior with 1 legendary. 1 legendary is all it took to make Pirate Warrior extremely oppressive. And that you're absolutely right.
And then all the other good decks were super expensive.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you couldn't play Jade Idols.
Hello.
Yeah, no, Reno Lock, you had to pay $20 or grind out the gold. But if you grinded out the gold, you were never gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, I think this expansion overall, I really am liking it so far, and I'm looking forward to testing a lot of these things, and I'm looking forward to all the fail montages on YouTube from people totally misplaying around some of these cards.
You know what? Just kidding. I found another bad card. Or a card that I don't see the value in. Before we close out and do our rating for the set. Keening Banshee, 4 mana. Whenever you play a card, remove the top 3 cards of your deck. For a 5/5? It's a worse Spell Reaver.
I think that one's probably
what about
a good.
that in your Mill Warlock?
Oh, give that to... Oh. Okay.
A good treachery target.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, guess what? You can't play any cards now.
Be like, you gotta help me figure out a way to get rid of this. Because, well, if you could permanently reduce its attack, I don't know that Warlock has a method of doing that. I don't know.
I think there are uses for the card. I just think it'll be fringe and memey if it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's why I like this set overall. Every one of these cards will have... Well, I mean, the Spellweaver, 6 mana, 4/4 with spell damage +2. Will it see any play? Probably not. But, I mean, most of these cards will see play in some way, whether it's in a Mimi deck. Oh, the Death Speaker, 3 mana, 2/4 that gives a friendly minion immune this turn. That could see play in something cool.
Okay, so it's starting to get late. We've had a 2-hour wonderful discussion. Gentlemen, from a scale rating from 1 to 10, how would you rate this beautiful set?
I'm going to give it a 9 just because I think this is the favorite expansion that I've been a part of yet. There was a lot in Ungoro, but there definitely wasn't as much interesting stuff that I really want to test as there is in this set. There's a whole lot of cool things I want to do with these cards. I'd give it a solid 8.5 to a 9.
Nathan?
I'd honestly have to give a similar score. The only thing I'm worried about in this set is I think the key thing that I think might be a barrier for this particular set is it's kind of the opposite problem we had in Ungoro. In Ungoro, the big problem with it was, as a set, that so many of the cards that were supposed to be critical to the set, the quests, the legendaries, because they were legendaries, they were really hard to get. Here, I think we're almost going to have the opposite problem, because since you're going to have the single-player experience to get the legendaries, I'm wondering if, with this set, maybe it takes some of the shine off, if you will, if that makes sense.
To put it into perspective, there's, let's see, 2 legendaries, again, per class. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Arthas. You got the 3 princes, Arthas, and Arthas. Yeah, I think that's 5. Yeah. 5 neutral legendaries. So 9 times 2, 18, 23? 23 legendaries?
23 sounds right. I think I heard that number somewhere.
Yes.
So you take 9 of those out. I don't know that that necessarily takes the shine off the set, because we also have more cards than we've had on average. There's 135, if I remember right, total?
130 something.
135. There's actually, if you are on the website, in the upper left-hand corner, it will tell you how many there are.
Oh,
so there are 135. So that's a lot of cards to collect, even in the commons. Like, again, everybody's going to want a set of each of these commons. Granted, a playset in Hearthstone is 2 cards, but there's always going to be the certain cards that drop less than others. So, personally, I give this set 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 would drop 1000 on it.
That is high praise coming from you, actually.
It absolutely is. Because, again, every one of these cards does something. I think this is a really good set to put money into versus grinding. And it's also a great set for new players to spend the $50, which, by the way, y'all have 2 days if you want to make that decision. I would highly recommend it if you're still on the edge. Don't put yourself into any financial risk, though, to do it. Card games are not that important, unless you're a Magic player. Then they might be important.
Kappa.
But that's all I've got for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, same for me. I will dip on out and end the stream. Thank you all for coming. It's been fun and definitely learned a lot and definitely gotten some different perspectives on these cards.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathan and Jamie. This is Joshua from CrossForge signing off.
Night, everyone.